Hey guys, welcome back. We were lucky enough to catch up with the one and only John Stalker at SuperFan ComicCon, who you might know from all of your favorite cartoons, most namely to me at least, is Beastly from the Care Bears. But yeah, let's chat. How are you doing?
I'm really wonderful, thank you. Thanks for this.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming out to SuperFan ComicCon. It's definitely great to have you here.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Great. So perhaps you can tell me a little bit more about maybe some of your favorite characters that you had the opportunity to play over the years, and perhaps some that our viewers might know.
Well, the one you mentioned, the Beastly, I would have to say still stands one of my very, very earliest, and still stands out as my favorite of all time, without question. I had a chance to develop the character.
Yep.
I had a chance to develop the voice. It was a different time in animation. I mean, back then we didn't even really call it animation. It was cartoons.
Absolutely.
And it was just a different, much simpler time in terms of the entire industry. So I got to really be part of the creative process. And to this day, Beastly kind of epitomizes, at least for me, my favorite, if not my favorite character in particular, my favorite sort of character situation being the bad guy's sidekick. The bad guy's sidekick in cartoons is pretty special because he's always really a nice guy.
Absolutely.
Caught in a situation where he has to do it. It's the only job he can get.
That's such a clever observation.
Yeah, okay, I'll go work for No Hurt. He pays minimum wage. So
Fantastic. So one thing I was noticing the other day when talking with a voice acting buddy of mine is that your voices are they sound like they have a lot. Sorry, they sound like they have a lot of energy in them. How is that something that you're able to do consistently, and is that straining on you?
well, thank you for mentioning. I take that as a really a huge compliment, and it's not one that people notice. I'll be honest with you, not really recognized. But I believe that if you do it, it's why voice acting is so much tougher than a lot of people think. It's not just doing another voice. There's an energy level that has to always be there. I think there's an honesty that you've got to put in, because you've got to have the integrity to really inject different things into a character. And I believe that if you don't do it at a high energy level, and that doesn't mean yelling, that doesn't mean loud, that means to be energized in the emotional sense. If you do that, you're going to create something interesting and something vibrant and something memorable.
Absolutely, as you've completely done.
I just don't think maybe it's a microcosm for life. Don't do anything that you don't feel energized doing.
Absolutely. I think I subscribe to the same thing. If you're going to do something, do it well, right?
100%. And do it with mind, body, and soul.
Absolutely. Well said. And perhaps you can tell us about some other projects that you have in the works.
Currently, I am, although I guess I couldn't. Nah, you know what? I'm not going to mention the companies or the names because sometimes people are a little bit particular about it, and I understand. We live in a very litigious society.
Absolutely.
But I am voice casting 2 animated shows. One I will be voice directing as well and have a small part in. So they're like right now I'm doing those. When I get home from the con, and I live well east of Toronto now, that's the first thing I'll be doing either tomorrow night or first thing Tuesday morning. I'll be on the computer working on those, and I've got a couple of running roles and a couple of things. I just finished a really sweet series for a company called DHX, called Ella the Elephant. They worked with Disney on this, and it's a really sweet kid show.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it's doing fairly well. Just finished a series called Rob the Robot, 2 seasons of doing that, and
So you're not short of any jobs at all.
no, I'm not short. I'm in the position now. I'm very blessed to be in a position where I can take things, and if I don't want certain things, I don't have to.
Fantastic. That's like the perfect position to be in, right?
It's really perfect. Yeah, and just at the point in my life where I'm, at that tipping point of wanting to do a little bit less. And just kick off my shoes a little bit more and, get into the garden.
Absolutely. Good stuff. And so finally, for some of our viewers who might not be familiar with what a voice director does, you were the voice director on Sailor Moon. Could you perhaps tell us a little bit more about what that role entails?
Okay. Yeah, it's actually a very important role. At least I think so. And obviously, and it was created for a reason. Generally speaking, when animation is recorded, it's recorded a performer at a time. It isn't recorded ensemble. A lot of people think that 6 people get in a room and read. That occasionally happens, but very rarely, because you have to understand that if you've got actors working and working together, you get overlap occasionally. You cannot have overlap in animation in the recording, even if maybe overlapped in the final production, right? Because it's every voice is animated, every character is animated separately.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so my job is to make sure that each line is delivered contextually correct in the script, because I'll have a performer in, one half of a dialogue in one day, and then it may be 3 days later that I get the other half of that dialogue in.
Wow.
I've got to know the script in my head and how every line is delivered. I've got to go over that script so often that I know exactly how that conversation goes, so that once I've recorded one half to my specifications, I can bring someone else in and no, you're not answering that right, because this is how that line is delivered.
Wow, that sounds incredibly meticulous, and I could never have imagined.
It is, and I have my color coding system. Matter of fact, I'll give credit where credit is due. The lady that I first worked for, when my first voice directing job was Sailor Moon, and she believed in color coding everything, and I picked it up from her, and it's worked. I've modified it, of course, but it's worked for me, and I am pretty anal and meticulous when it comes to that.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure that all of our viewers are also glad that you're anal and meticulous about everything. Well, thank you very much.
That's
They got to draw the line somewhere, right?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
Nice. Cheers.